right. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, folks. It's me, the Guerilla Economist, coming to you live on this edition of Rogue News ESW. Rogue ESW, that is going to be the name of the future company. Rogue ESW is where it's at, folks. And I'll tell you right now, it's like we have a app that is about to be launched. It's going to be on the Apple App Store, the Google Play Store, and a persistent web application, so you can download it directly to your desktop. So you don't have to be reliant on any app store. If you want more. And with that being said, I'm with my main dude here, Algo Cowboy, who's working the wheels of steel, making sure the dilithium crystals and the flux capacitors are working properly so that this broadcast is coming out crispy and clean, you know what I mean? And folks, there's a lot of things happening right now. A lot of things happening. And I've been listening to a lot of analysis, and I've been getting a lot of emails saying, V, we need your thoughts. V, when are you coming back? Well, let this be the official broadcast, folks. We are back every single day, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m., starting now. So you'll be hearing us tomorrow. You'll be hearing us Thursday. You'll be hearing us Friday. We're everywhere you want to be, plus a bag of chips. It's amazing. And, folks, let me tell you something. So there's a lot to cover, Cowboy. And I know we're going to bring up the talking points from Sergei Lavrov. We have Trump queued up right now, some of the very key insights that Donald Trump was talking about. And then we're also going to be bringing about what Lavrov talked about and the entire state of affairs and the way that we see what's happening and being played out, not only in the geopolitical stage, but how this affects global economies, global markets, so on and so forth. So, welcome aboard, Cowboy. Are you there?
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, man.
So I had the mute on there for a second.
Yeah. So let's, this is hot on the heels of the ceasefire, and we could bring up what Trump was saying. Now, is Trump the most perfect person? No. But does Trump want World War III? No. But does Trump have a serious problem with trying to get his directives done? Yes. And the reason for that is that Bibi Netanyahu, okay, Netanyahu has more influence in the United States Congress and Senate than even what Donald Trump has. He has more of an influence. And that's a problem. That any sitting president does not have the type of influence that a foreign leader in a far-off country does. It's a problem. And we've been having this Zionist problem in the United States for quite some time. Okay? Several decades, in fact. And so here's Trump, hot on the heels of the Iranian situation, and he's very blunt about it in the best New York way possible. There we go.
But reports coming from the region suggest that the sides accuse each other for violating the ceasefire. So
I think they both violated it. I don't think I'm not sure they did it intentionally. They couldn't rein people back. I don't like the fact that Israel went out this morning at all, and I'm going to see if I can stop it. So as soon as I get away from you, I'm going to see if I can stop it, okay?
Have you spoken to him this morning? How confident are you that
I think it's been completely demolished. I think the reason we're here is because those pilots, those B-2 pilots, did an unbelievable job. And the fake news, like CNN in particular, they're trying to say, well, I agree that it was destroyed, but maybe not that destroyed. You know what they're doing? They're really hurting great pilots that put their lives in the line. CNN is scum, and so is MSDNC. They're all, and frankly, the networks aren't much better. It's all fake news, but they should not have done that. Those pilots hit their targets. Those targets were obliterated, and the pilots should be given credit. They're not after the pilots, they're after me. They want to try and demean.
Do you believe that Iran can rebuild its nuclear program?
Iran will never rebuild its nuclear. From there? Absolutely not. That place is under rock. That place is demolished.
Okay, we need to understand what's actually happening here, right?
Hold on, everybody repeat after us. The target was demolished.
The target was demolished, exactly. So there's this game that's being played, optics and reality. And when you really look at the political game, people are like, oh man, if I was president, if I was leader, I'd do this, that, and the other. No, look, this is a complicated game of deception on multiple levels, right? The United States is not the grandiose military power that it once was. Okay. Advanced weaponry and advanced technology has become ubiquitous. You can sink an aircraft carrier, a multi-billion-dollar aircraft carrier can be sunk with a drone that's a couple $100,000. That's the age that we're living in. So Trump needs to do two things here. Let the American people know that, hey, we have an image to maintain. Remember, politics is perception. It's not reality. That's in the West. Politics is perception to a great degree. And it's like that amongst most countries. So, to our population, he has to say the target was destroyed. Look, American bunker busters, okay, the weapons that are used in that was dropped by the B-2, those have 30, even though it's advertised as 65-meter penetration, at best case scenario with like soft brittle lime rock or something like that. But a hardened target, you're probably getting 20 to 30 meters of penetration. So you're not really destroying the very core because the Iranian facilities are 95 plus meters below the most hardened surfaces known to man. It's very hard and very difficult to do it. Number two, the Iranian nuclear thing, since time immemorial, since the Ayatollah Khomeini took over, Iran had a problem. Iran is sitting on one of the largest energy reserves in petroleum on planet Earth. Even it's twice the size of reserves, 3 times the amount of Saudi Arabia's. I've been speaking about this for years. The problem that Iran wanted since day one is, hey, we don't have the refinery capability in order to refine our petroleum to bring it to world market. And then after the Islamic Revolution, any sort of ability to build the necessary power, you need the power in order to run a refinery. And they don't have the requisite infrastructure for power to refine the petroleum and to bring it to the world market. They don't have that yet. They need nuclear power in order to do so. And that's where this whole entire quest was. So initially, Iran went to the West. And because the West is a lackey of the mafia state that's in the Mediterranean, which is Israel, because there's a lackey to Israel, they were forbidden from handing over and or developing any sort of a nuclear program. And the Iranians said, okay, fine. If you're not going to help us develop a nuclear program so that we can have the power infrastructure to refine oil that we can send to the markets, and the U.S. and Israel said no. Because Iranian oil sent to the market, it was a threat to the Saudis. Can't do that. The petrodollar hinges upon it. Can't get it out there. And then Iran's like, fine, we'll price our oil in dollars. Nah, we're not interested. Okay, fine. Then I'll tell you what. We'll give you our oil, you refine it for us, and then we'll send it back to us, and then we'll resell it in the market. Now, we can't let you prosper. Because, number one, our pimp, Israel, doesn't like you. And we can't let the Saudis feel threatened by you either. And folks, this is the schism at the core of this whole Iran bullshit. You have a Zionist foreign policy that's been running rampant last several decades. Since the assassination of Kennedy. Okay?
I got something coming up on that too.
Yeah. Since the assassination of Kennedy, we've been having this problem. And so fast forward to today, this is the source of the geopolitics on the ground. But now the world's changing. Why? The dollar is not the king that it once was. There is no longer a unipolar world. If you look at Europe, it's a basket case. It's falling apart. The city of London is dying a death of 1,000 cuts. There are real rising powers in the East. China, Russia, the stands. Eurasia is rising. Southeast Asia is rising. Europe is dying. North America is running around. We have an overstretched empire with 934 military bases in 139 countries. We cannot sustain this. And now we're witnessing the emergence of the multipolar world. And whether Washington likes it, whether London likes it, whether Brussels likes it, it doesn't matter. The multipolar world is here to stay. It's not going away. And it's in the waning of the empire that the United States, the nationalists that have taken power in the United States, are doing two things. Number one, managing the production, the optics, the perception, the production of perception. That we're still a global superpower and we're still the largest economy in the world and we're still this and we're still that. And we still are a player in the game. There's no doubt about it. There's only 3 countries on this planet that matter the most. It's China, Russia, the United States. Those are the only 3 countries that are going to be setting the global tone. And then you have lackeys and axillaries. Some of these axillaries are detrimental and abusive in the relationship that we have. Israel is a prime example. So the question now for the United States is, how do we be part of this new world? And to the audience in Algo Factory, you guys already know this, and our members over at algofactory.tech, where you learn to trade, learn how to build algorithms that trade on your behalf 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, no matter what the market is, no matter where in the world. Powerful income stream, especially with autonomy and AI coming to the market, displacing jobs. The Algo Factory people, our clients, our members, they knew back months ago, back in, I think, September, in October, when this whole entire thing popped off, and this, I'm sorry, in October, when I said, hey, here's the reason, and I laid out that, there's deals that have been cut in the Middle East. And the deals that have been cut is like, yeah, you have, Iran is a power. Israel wants to run things, especially off the Gaza. What's off of Gaza? You have the Leviathan platform. You have one of the largest natural deposits of natural gas on Gaza, or liquid natural gas in the entire world. And the Saudis are central to it. So we are seeing a fight amongst 3 Middle Eastern and near Middle Eastern powers, influential powers in the region. And never before. If you look at every hemispherical section of the world, every region has its power. In the Western Hemisphere, it's the United States. We are rescinding into a regional superpower. That's what we're going to be. That's the future of the United States. We're going to dominate the Western Hemisphere. We're going to dominate the hemisphere where North America and South America and Central America reside. We're the dominant regional power. China is the dominant regional power in the Asia Pacific. It is the dominant regional power in Asia. And in Southeast Asia, you have India, which is either, I don't know, depending on what day of the week, they're either with BRICS or they're with NATO. I have no freaking clue. Nobody knows. The freaking bloody Indians. And then you have Russia, which is the regional power of Eurasia. That leaves 2 vacuums. One is the imploding communist project known as the EU. And then you have the Middle East. Who's the regional power of the Middle East? Well, Israel would like to stand up and say, we are. And then Saudi saying, no, we've been here too. And then Iran is a powerful influence there. That beef, that choice, that decision as who's the regional power in the Middle East hasn't been settled yet. And also Turkey's a wild card. So Israel has a lot of ambitions to expand. And some of their expansionist rhetoric doesn't jive well to other regional powers. It doesn't jive well to some nationalist individuals here that are in the United States. It doesn't jive well with Russians. It doesn't jive well with the Chinese. And we're seeing this being played out. So in the terms of optics, Trump has to make sure that to the American public that America is still the greatest thing on God's green earth while we undergo this transition. And to the Iranians, what's the Iranian public being fed? Oh, there was no harm done. We're still in power. We can still project. We can still hit Israel. And they can. They absolutely can. And Israel, I don't know what their perception is. They're falling apart. Their people want Netanyahu's head on a platter at this point. And so this is where we are. But the overarching theme, no matter which regional power that you try to speak to, the overarching theme is nobody wants World War III. Nobody wants the Strait of Hormuz shut down. And this is why the Iranian parliament voted to go ahead and shut down the Strait of Hormuz. That was optics for its people. They don't want to do that. 50% of Iranian energy exports goes to China. Their number one trading partner. Do you think the Chinese like, yeah, let's create a situation here? Because the Strait of Hormuz is closed or anything like that, it's going to be a big problem. That's why they're doing GPS jamming. They're doing on an electronic level what the Houthis are doing with missiles and rockets on select freight carriers and bulk carriers that are coming out of the Middle East through the Strait of Hormuz. So this is the situation on the ground. Now, bringing up what the rest of what Trump says.
The B-2 pilots did their job. They did it better than anybody could even imagine. They hit late in the evening. It was dark with no moon, and they hit that target with every one of those.
How much you want to make a bet that Iran was given a heads up? They had to have you given a heads up. Because none of the supplies or the enrichment things were there, rumored, and it was said. And so, how much you want to make a bet? Because look, let's be honest. Now, people, the laymen and those who believe the Hollywood marketing BS will say, well, you know, it's stealth, the B-2 stealth bombers. They're invisible to the radar. You can't see them. Folks, ASA radars, active array radars, the most advanced radars can track stealth. And if I'm not mistaken, Iran has S-400 missile units. This is why an F-35 was blown out of the sky. And I've told you guys several times for years on end, stealth is not reality. It's a marketing scheme. It's a marketing material. It's just marketing. ASA radars and advanced infrared search and tracks has completely leveled the playing field when it comes to stealth. So there's no point in making a plane so stealthy. That's why to this day, like, you know, the Air Force is recognizing this. People are saying, well, why can't we build more F-22s? And resources are being allocated to upgrade F-15s and make them more deadly, make them more maneuverable. Why? Because the F-15s could project payload, missiles, hypersonics, things of that sort. We don't have it yet. We don't have any hypersonics, but this whole stealth thing is a misnomer. So Iran can definitely see if they're using S-400 missiles, which I know they have, they can shoot a B-2 out of the air. Absolutely. They can shoot an F-22, an F-35, any stealth aircraft line, they can shoot it down. S-400 is a game changer. So you mean to tell me on the most sensitive sites that they don't have S-400s active or even S-500? Of course they do. But this is the theater that's being played out. This is theater. We're seeing theater because there's a larger geopolitical game. We have certain members of Global Incorporated that are still not behaving correctly. Global Incorporated that have their own interests, that show interest to Washington, that show interest to Brussels, that shows interest to the city of London, and they're being knocked down.
Do you mean to suggest that even our own politicians are, showing such interest, having such interest? I mean, I got a video that could elucidate if we want to watch it.
Yeah, bring it up, man. Bring it up.
This is.
Let's bring up one of our chief. Hey, look, a lot of these conservative cucks. A lot of these neocons, they're very good at arguing domestic issues. But when it comes to understanding geopolitics, dude, they fucking suck. Okay, they suck so bad. And here's Tuck, who's had an awakening years ago. This guy is a real pro-Americana kind of dude. He understands this whole trajectory we've been on for the last several decades has done nothing but impoverish us. Go ahead, Cowboy.
So, we got some. You ever watch the movie The Shining? and not that I'd ever want to emulate Jack Nicholson in that movie. He's obviously a crazy person who kills people, but
Yeah.
when he's at the bar, the bartender is serving him a drink, and his problem is alcoholism. And so when he has alcoholism, he hurts his family, and he's been off the wagon, but now he's losing his mind. And he goes and sits at the bar. The guy sets up, some drinks. And Jack Nicholson says, who's paying for this? More or less. And the bartender says, it's on the house. And Jack Nicholson goes, I'm the kind of guy that wants to know who's buying me a drink. Something along those lines. So if you don't know who's paying your bills, then that's a mistake. And we're going to find out right now just how well Ted Cruz, the midwit at best, and that's being generous. Don't make me start with my Andre Martinov impression. But here we go. Watch this.
Sure, we're not sort of paying for the operations of the British
I
government.
gotta say, and this is it's weird. We're talking about isolationists, the obsession with Israel. Why is Israel?
Oh, I don't think I'm obsessed with Israel.
Okay, but I think a lot of people are. And like the question, Israel spies on us. Well, so does every other country. Why are you mad at Israel?
I guess. Oh no. I'm hardly the one who's. I've never taken money from the Israel lobby. Have you?
Taken money from the Israel
From AIPAC.
So AIPAC raises a lot of money for me, but it's actually a misnomer because the people who raise money are individuals. Right. So it's not the PAC itself, but they're individuals.
Wait. When he says individuals, watch his fingers shake. He's scared right here.
Yeah.
Raises a lot of money for me, but it's actually a misnomer because
See him
the people
handshaking?
who raise money are individuals.
Yeah.
PAC itself, but they're individual members who believe in the American-Israeli
He's breathing heavy.
Is AIPAC a foreign lobby?
No, it's an American lobby. It's the AIPAC stands for America-Israeli Political.
Yeah.
The lobby for.
So, to be honest, not a whole lot effectively. Listen,
Hold
on.
he's gonna
Pause right
downplay
there.
it.
Look how dumb that answer. Not a whole lot effectively. So you're taking money, $1.8 million already this year that we know of, that this guy is taking $1.82 million, almost $1.9 million. This guy is taken from AIPAC this year alone. Right? And so why, if they're not effective, why are you taking money from an ineffective PAC?
They're effective at paying for his bills.
Exactly. And what
what else?
Yeah.
I think, and I heard this, I'd have to verify, but I think something like 90 some odd % of the congressional candidates backed by AIPAC are the ones that win.
Yeah, of course. That's
In the back both
100%.
sides.
Yeah. But they're ineffective.
Yeah, and they're not a foreign lobby, by the way.
Right. They're not foreign lobby.
I see. Okay.
Somehow they don't have to register with FARA. Somehow everybody else does, but not them.
Yeah. No. Well, there was an individual who tried to fix that, and they blew.
He got his head blown off in Dallas. I heard about it.
Yeah. Right.
I heard about it. He had his head blown off in Dallas back in 1963. Heard
Yeah,
about
they
that
even
guy.
videotaped it.
Yep.
Watch this.
I came into Congress 13 years ago with the stated intention of being the leading defender of Israel in the United States Senate.
Right.
And I've worked every day to do that. AIPAC, a lot of times, AIPAC, I wish were much more effective. Like, there are folks online who are in the fever swamp of terrified of AIPAC, and AIPAC.
I'm not terrified of AIPAC at all. You're the one who seems a little uncomfortable when I'm asking.
No,
I'm just asking what AIPAC does. My understanding, having known a lot of people who work at AIPAC, is that it lobbies on behalf of the Israeli government.
Wrong.
Oh, okay.
It's
when was the last time AIPAC took a position that deviated from Prime Minister Netanyahu?
All the time.
Name one.
Okay. Let me go back and give a little history. If you want to do a deep dive on AIPAC,
Let's watch that again. Watch him deflect. Ted Cruz is an idiot. There are like 5 different clips from this entire interview where he, first of all, he talks about Iran, and he's talking about how bad they are, whatever it is, and Tucker's like, oh really, what's the ethnic mix of Iran? And he starts asking all these questions about Iran.
Doesn't know shit, like most American politicians. Doesn't know shit.
Doesn't know shit.
Dude, if I ask Sergei Lavrov right now, or ask Dmitry Medvedev, I ask Vladimir Putin, hey, this country, what's their ethnic nationality, what's the problem? They will be able to ratchet off facts and figures looking like a CIA fact book. Okay, they would know it immediately what the hell they're dealing with, because because their politicians are not lawyers. They're not lawyers. See, 99% of our politicians are lawyers. They're fucktard lawyers.
Look, this is where not knowing these things, right? This is where you start to see, what is it when somebody has arrogance into politics. So Starmer was supposed to meet, I think, the South Korean prime minister or president or head of state.
Yeah, he shook hands with the security guard.
Yeah, he shakes hands with his security or translator or something, and they had to say, no, this is the president. Yeah. Look, I guarantee you, Sergei Lavrov, if he's ever going to meet a head of state, he knows who that head of state is, what he looks like, what his favorite color is, what his blood type is, what his favorite food is, what his second favorite food is, what his third favorite food is, what his favorite childhood toy was. He knows his favorite 9 books in order of favoritism. This is diplomacy. Our diplomats don't even know what the guy looks like. The head of state, it's not our that was that was the UK. That was Starmer, who was just a half-wit installation. But long story short, our diplomats, we don't know anything. They're uneducated. All they need to know is what they're told to say. And I guarantee you, everything, like all these talking points that Ted Cruz has here, he was given, and obviously he wasn't ready for Tucker, because we'll just run this back. Tucker asks him, name one time that AIPAC has deviated from Netanyahu's policy. And then what's his name? Cruz says, well, all the time. And Tucker says, name one. And he goes, let me tell you what.
I don't. I want to do a shallow dive that gets. No. I want to get to the core question. AIPAC is lobbying for a foreign government, and I don't. It's not. No. It's lobbying for the United States.
It is lobbying for a strong U.S.-Israeli relationship.
Okay, and it's not has nothing to do with the foreign government.
It wants America and Israel to be closely allied.
Okay, but it's lobbying on behalf of the interests of another country.
So that's not true at all. And if
it's not true.
No.
How much contact do you think AIPAC leaders have with the government of Israel?
No idea. I imagine some. I think the government of Israel is often frustrated with AIPAC because AIPAC's not nearly strong enough.
Do you think there's any coordination between the government of Israel and AIPAC?
Do they talk? Sure. If you're lobbying for more U.S.-Mexico trade, would you talk to people in the U.S. and Mexico and the government? Sure. Like if.
So I'm not mad about that. There are a million countries that lobby Washington. I like a lot of those countries, including Israel.
But AIPAC are Americans. They're not Israelis.
Hold on. There are tons of Americans who lobby on behalf of foreign governments. I know them. I'm related to some of them. I know how it works. I'm from here. So my question is not, is it outrageous that foreign governments lobby the United States? They all do, okay, including Israel. My only question is, why don't we admit that is what's happening? You're denying it, but it's true.
Yeah, and why aren't you're saying is false.
Why aren't they registered as a foreign lobby?
Because they're not.
They're not a foreign lobby.
No, they're not. And this is that there's a fever swamp. Look,
it's not a fever swamp. These are very reasonable questions, and you've accused me of being obsessed with Israel, which I'm not.
I actually haven't. I've said
being feverish about it, which I'm not at all. I find it's a very tender spot when you ask it, and I don't know why.
It's hardly breaking news. The U.S. dollar.
All right. So, and there's a lot. I mean, it would be fun to actually go over this interview as an entire show, because he just wipes the floor with Cruz, and Cruz is showing just how much he doesn't know and so on. So anyway, look, President Kennedy tried to get, well, I think at the time it was called the National Zionist Foundation or something like that. And they were, registered as not a foreign lobby. He tried to get them registered as a foreign lobby. And also after his assassination, it just so happened that, Israel was able to possibly obtain nuclear weapons. They've never admitted that they have.
Well, here's the thing: they tested their first nuke 2 months after the death of Kennedy. It was because there was a large seismic underground event that occurred, and that's when a lot of people were like, "Okay, these people have nukes," and they didn't neither confirm nor deny what they have. Period. And that's also the reason why the USS Liberty was attacked, is because during the time of the war between Israel, Egypt, and Syria, the prime minister at that time, the lady Golden, Meyer Golden or something like that, Gold or whatever, was stating, look, either the United States, you supply us, or we're going to escalate this thing, and that's why they literally had their nukes out, and this is the reason why our American recon aircraft were able to detect higher levels of radiation. So did our satellites, and then so was the USS Liberty that was monitoring this whole thing, and that's the reason why they pulverized the Liberty in order to sink it.
Yeah, who was it that they blamed it on?
Egypt.
Egypt. Yeah. So I mean, there's a really good video. I think you might have sent it to me of a guy who was on the Liberty.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And he tells the whole story.
Yes,
And
he
he's,
does.
you know, I mean, hey man, I think Candace Owens interviewed him, so maybe we'll find that link.
Yep.
All I can say is like, look at this supposed peace agreement. Obviously, the story was that there was a ceasefire. Iran never said they agreed to it, but they're like, okay, well, we'll stop shooting if Israel does. Okay, what's a ceasefire? That's what that is, but that's fine. So then supposedly Iran launches a missile aimed at Israel, although it's either unproven that it ever got launched and just some news agency said it got launched, or it did and it got shot down. No harm, no foul. One missile, and apparently Israel just starts launching a bunch of missiles in, violation of the ceasefire.
Yeah. And meanwhile they're imploding. And then also what's come out in the last several weeks, Cowboy, is the Samsung option, where the names of cities were leaked somehow, whether it's a hack or an inside leak or whatnot from an Israeli website showing you the cities that are in the Western world that are targets. So if Israel loses the war, they use the Samsung option. And they'll launch off nukes hitting New York, L.A., California, L.A. and Chicago and Florida and London and Brussels and Germany and all these other places to bring us down with them.
I don't know if that, I mean, I'm very likely that that's true. That document may or may not be.
Or may not, but we know. But Seymour Hersh talked about the Samsung. He wrote a book on it. Seymour Hersh, very credible guy, wrote a thing about the Samsung option.
Here's one. Okay, so and I want to see if we can get Ian Burlingame on the show. We have a connection to him. He talks about how in the modern times we're looking at estrogenic leadership. The way that we approach war, the way we approach protection, the way we do things is all estrogenic. Like if you and I'm just really saying literally what Ian says, so go listen to him. If you want to know where he is, I'll send you a link. But what he says is that think about an unhealthy female mentally at a bar, or even a low T, high estrogen man.
Yeah.
They'll scream and yell at somebody who's way bigger than them because they lose their mind. They don't understand conflict. They don't understand what it is to be in a fight. They've probably never been in a fight. And so they start yelling. And so this chick or this weak person is yelling at somebody much, much stronger. And the stronger person's like, yeah, I could pretty easily take this person out. I don't want to fight them. Like a high testosterone person doesn't feel the need to fight like that. Like, all right, just let them yell. And then finally they haul off and sock you. And then, they just get annihilated if they don't get held back. Okay. So Israel is a matriarchal society.
Yes.
And I'm hearing more and more that the collapse of civilization is coincidental. And I mean coincidental in the strictest of terms, happening at the same time as through history when women had more power in politics.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
I mean, this is what we're looking at here. And you got guys like Ted Cruz and his fat ass, his T levels aren't good. Him and Han can't answer a straight question.
No.
Being paid off. He probably looks in the mirror and hates himself. And if he doesn't, he should, at least for that. I get it. You get through politics and they get all the blackmail material on you and you got to do what you got to do. And after a while, you begin to learn to live with yourself and then, maybe commit suicide, maybe not. But, and I'm being kind with some of these ones. I don't know if Ted Cruz is, doing the terrible, terrible things, but at this point, I'm not so sure he's got our interest at heart. And if he thinks he has our interest at heart, I'm not sure that he's correct about that. So we really, if we can't fix this problem of who's in charge, and if we can't get this feminine thinking out of our foreign policy, we're in trouble. And the problem has gone so far. I don't know that it's reparable. I think things are just going to have to fall apart. And we'll go to that, new Monroe Doctrine, regional powers, and, what are you going to do? I mean,
exactly.
What are you going to do? When things fall apart, look, I'll say the last thing here. The whole thing about weak men make, weak men make bad times make strong men make good times make weak men. And I think we're in that end of good times. And I think we're going to get some hard times and some strong men out of it. I mean, shit, man, I don't know how we ended up you and I were throwbacks or something, because we came out of some of the easiest times ever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we did.
So I don't know, man. What do you think? Do you think we have a chance at fixing this in the next 10, 20 years?
It's going to require a massive cultural change. It's going to require the purging of communist, Marxist, Leninist sympathizers that are in academia and in the educational system. It's going to require the banning of dual citizens in government. It's going to require a complete crushing of far leftist ideology, right, which is really literally communist, socialist, Marxist, and a cultural rediscovery. There has to be a cultural renaissance in the United States, and you can't have that if you know, in its current state, where we're becoming balkanized. And right now, you know, we have a rallying call. I think the majority of the country is behind the president. Well, that's a good thing. But we have to make sure that what the momentum that was started here doesn't peter off in 4 years, that it's built upon, that we have to make central liberty focus the center of this whole entire thing. And then we have to accept the fact that we have debt up to our eyeballs. The debt has to be restructured, and that means that we can't have 934 military bases in 139 countries anymore. That means we got to bring our troops home. That means there's no friggin' way that you need to have $1 trillion military budget. Okay, there has to be some serious work that's done. And the question becomes do we have the courage to do it? I know the people want it, but do we really, really, truly want it? Because it's going to require some pain. And I think Americans, for the most part, are comfortable. So the only thing I see right now is we're buying time. Time is being bought. How this is going to transition, and we're in a transition. I don't know how this is going to play out, but it's not going to be, you know, roses and sunshine. It can be roses and sunshine, but there has to be this pain because we still have to wipe out the cancer. Look at what Doge did. Doge exposed so much. What's actually being done after that? No, none of the congressmen are actually voting to implement anything what Doge tells them to implement.
What do you think that is?
Because they're on the take.
They're on the take. Yeah.
Unless we stop this whole lobbyist bullshit, which was created by, really, the architect of it is Mitch McConnell, who took it to the next level. Unless we stop this and rescind all these lobbyist laws, and unless we reinstate Glass-Steagall, it's not looking too good, bro.
Well, I think the educational system is going to get an automatic purge because at this point, a lot of people are the kind of jobs that come out of schools like that. Half of them are going to be gone from AI.
Absolutely.
So, you know what? I bet you 80% of the degrees people are getting out of these schools don't have a job on the other end anyway, right?
Yep.
And so the system makes up these bullshit jobs that, you know, you can get because you have the right color skin and the right thing between your legs, and you put your privates in the right hole. Other than that, those jobs are going to go away because if a company has to pay somebody, they will. But if they don't, AI could do the job. And I know AI is, you know, not going to make a big difference. Guess what? Last year, I was looking at making an advertisement for Algo Factory, and I have a cousin who's deep into it. And I asked him, I said, hey, can you create some hot chick? And she could be like our spokesperson. Like, can you do it digitally? He goes, it's not quite there. Yeah, well, guess what? It's there. It's there now.
There, man.
It's so there. Yeah. VO3, I'm seeing stuff coming.
VO3 is unbelievable, man.
And guess what? That's going to be, first of all, we'll move on to the Hollywood purge, but first, we'll outline the educational purge. So AI is going to take a lot of jobs, and I know it's happening slowly, but guess what? It's going to happen slowly until it doesn't. Now, AI is not going to do everything all at once, and I think it's going to be a long time before it does some things, but guess what AI can do? There's a lot of jobs right now that AI could just do. Yeah. If you go get your blood panels and your lipids and all that stuff, and you plug it into AI, there are articles now saying that AI does a better job at diagnosing than a doctor does.
100%.
So, I mean, I don't want people to overestimate or underestimate AI. And that means that, people just aren't going to be going to college. Because here's what happens. If nobody's working, nobody's making any money, who's going to fund the debt? Because we are the collateral. Our paychecks are the collateral for all the money that we keep printing. Those paychecks are going away. Yep. The capability to print loans out of nothing to go into these schools, that requires a type of collateral. Okay. So Schools will get less people. There'll be less money for the schools. People will have less reason to go to the schools. And schools will be what they should have been the whole time, is that if you have a specific type of career that you need a college education for, like you want to be a doctor, right? Which, who knows how long those are going to be around. But whatever your career is, you got to go through that. I guarantee you AI kicked the shit out of any lawyer outside of a trial by jury situation where you got to mess with the trial's emotions or the jury's emotions, right? So then there is the Hollywood purge. What I'm seeing from VO3, I saw a 10-minute episode that was created in 3 days that was as good as any Black Mirror episode. As good as. Right. Visually as good as. They made it VO3 and what needs to be bought with it to make that's like $800 for a year.
Yes.
And they made an entire episode in 3 days that's as good as anything on TV. That's not saying much in this day and age, but hey, man, it's as good as anything on TV. What's going to happen to Hollywood? All the camera guys are going to be gone. All the computer guys are going to be gone. Writers, they'll be gone. You can write a script, AI.
Yep.
So all that power that Hollywood has, that's already diminished quite a bit because nobody's fucking watching the movies, excuse my language. And number two, it's going to keep going because all the money that is paid to Hollywood people, that's going to go. And when you stop paying people, whatever message you want them to spread goes away. This is why you have these protests, quote unquote, in LA a week or two ago, and they were all paid for. It was on Craigslist. This isn't like a conspiracy theory. You go on a Craigslist, they pay whatever it is, $50-$30 an hour, I don't know the number, and go out here and protest. And you got like a handful of guys in there who are paid a little bit higher to be the true provocateurs. So it's all fake. And everything that they've built in the last 100 years, the capability for them to control us with the media, guess what? The media's hijacked. It's gone now. It's going to be like VO3 and whatever website you want to watch.
Right.
V and I can make a movie.
Yeah.
Like, we could bring on a third person that knows VO. We'd have a movie out in 2 weeks, probably better than anything you ever seen.
Yep.
Or not ever, but So long story short, everything's going to change on its own. It's going to crumble and fall apart. And the people who are like the normies, they ain't ready for it, man. I'm telling you, they don't see what we see. They don't know what we know. Algo Factory knew it. We've known a lot of what's going on with the geopolitics end of things, Israel, the deal in the Middle East, the deal for Gaza, all that stuff. We had that information back in like November. I'm going to put a link in the chat here. Now, if you go and like use that link, it'll get you a free algo. Put in a real name, fake name, we don't care. Put in your email address. You'll get on a list, and that way you can like get our address. Well, I'll send you weekly updates about what's going on in the markets and stuff like that. And if anybody in here is in Algo Factory, yesterday I lined out about 10 charts of different stuff, some crypto, some NASDAQ, gold, all this stuff in the morning, some Forex, and like I don't know, I think it was like 8 charts, and 7 out of 8 were pretty good. 3 were dead nuts on. So I mean, you're just getting so much value. And V gives us the kind of things he can't talk about here. He can talk about in a smaller group. Yeah. And V gives that to us as often as he can. It's generally 1 to 3 times a month, something like that. So that's the advertisement. V, what do you think? What do you see happening after all this drama we've had in the news, after all the madness? How do you want to kind of wrap that up? I have a little bit to talk about with Powell if you want to before we end the show.
Yeah, the madness is. I think cooler heads will prevail for now. The wild card here is people like, what's Iran going to do? What's it? No, the wild card is Israel. Because these guys they're psychotic, and I don't put it past them to pull off some sort of false flag that makes the situation worse. And that's the thing we got to watch out for: a false flag either against the United States, or a false flag against its own population, and then blaming it on Iran, saying, "Hey, there's a violation of a ceasefire, and we're gonna start going to war," because they don't care. They really don't care. When you get past the rhetoric, you look at the actions, they just don't give a rat's rear end. Let's talk about Powell, and let's wrap it up, brother.
Oh, I think the people who are running the Levant would obliterate their own country to get what they want.
Yeah.
Because they're not from there and they don't live there, a lot of them. So Powell today, just a quick thing on that. He said no cuts anytime soon. Okay, so there's a lot of kayfabe going on. That's a kind of a newer term going around. It's when the WWF makes up a situation where they're like acting, you know, but
Right.
they're not. It's not real. They don't really hate each other. It's just all for show. Well, I think, for example, the Trump Elon thing was a kayfabe, or at least partially that. It was also a distraction. So the Jay Powell thing, the Jerome Powell versus Trump thing, I think is fake. It's at least partially fake. Because as Tom Luongo says, remember Bessent and Powell have lunch like every Monday.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guarantee you there's a lot less of the fighting between Trump and Powell than there isn't. And there may not be any at all, and it might all just be for show. So holding the rates high, right? What does that do? Well, that makes our debt more attractive, right? And so who were we trying to starve out? Trying to starve out basically Davos. And Davos gets their money from basically France, Germany, and Britain to a degree. And what do? Well, Germany kind of makes things, but they're not making them like they used to because they killed the deal with Russia and they don't get any cheap energy anymore. And they're losing jobs faster in Germany than they were at the 2008 economic collapse, or whatever you call that, 2008 financial crisis. So Germany's in trouble. French gets money because they extract it from their colonial mining and stuff like that. So they're strip mining, poor people in Africa. So they have funds that they can pull together to mess with things. But in the end, keeping their game going is costing them their assets. And as long as our interest rates are high, it makes them much more expensive for them to do. So this holding the rates high thing and Trump yelling about it like he's all upset, I wouldn't really take that at face value. I think it's, as someone else said, again, I think it was Tom Luongo. I think he said something like, it's there for the normies to think that Powell is independent and making his own decisions.
Right.
But as of now, there's no plan of any cuts anytime soon. Some people think 1 or 2 by the end of the year. Cuts usually mean the markets go up. But guess what the markets have been doing? The markets have been going up. We just almost made all-time highs in the NASDAQ this morning. And one of the things we talk about over at Algo Factory is take a look at gold, take a look at oil. One of the calls I made yesterday, I said oil is going to head down. Everybody, including Tim Pool's freaking shill ass, was saying, oil's going to jump to whatever. And
$200 a barrel.
Everybody and their mother was saying oil's going to skyrocket. And all the news had come, and I looked at the charts and I looked at the news, what had already been out. I'm like, guys, it's going to go down.
Yep.
And it went down 10%.
Yep.
Not oil went down 10%. Oil doesn't go down 10% in 3 hours. No. It just doesn't do that. So all of this craziness erupted. All the normies were like, they're going to close the Strait of Hormuz. And so they all went long on oil, and the smart money knew it was going to happen. And so they let all those dummies, all the dumb money, that let that be their liquidity for getting into shorts, right? Or exiting longs, either way. And they took advantage of them. They fleeced the public. I'm telling you right now, outside of surprise news, and I mean true surprise news, the charts are going to tell you what's going on before anything else. So we use the charts, the markets, we use that to know what's happening. Via the Guerilla, on the other hand, and I don't want to betray how big your deals are, but V does very large deals around the world. Like V doesn't really talk about it on here. And those deals put him in touch with people who are very high placed.
Movers and shakers.
Like people who, I don't want to say they make policy. I don't want to say they don't. Well, let's just say that we got some really good intel over at Algo Factory, and we'll teach you how to take advantage of it. V, with the markets being as calm as they are, right?
Yeah.
Let me take a quick. I'm not going to bring up charts. We're at the end of the show, but I just want to take a look at what price oil is right now. I guarantee you, it's going to head down further a little bit. I can't guarantee anything, but I can guarantee you, I think it's going to head. It's headed down now. Yeah, shit, man. It's doing exactly what I said it would do this morning.
Yeah.
On the Algo Factory Live show. And I think it's going to go down towards, it might go sub 60. It might. That would be brutal. I know that Davos likes that. I know that Trump likes that, but I don't know. Anything to add to that? You have a better idea of those kinds of things, V. And then if you have,
we're going to see how things play out, because this is going to be a very interesting summer. And again, when I began this broadcast, I made mention of Lavrov, right? Let me just read real quick what Lavrov said, and then we could close out the show and come back tomorrow, because I know there's going to be a lot of things happening between now and then that there's going to be a lot to talk about as well tomorrow as well. So this is what Lavrov said. And again, everybody's playing to an audience. right? So unlike Ted Cruz, Lavrov knows who his audience is. Lavrov says he called the B-2 bomber attacks by Trump as irresponsible and said that they were in violation of international law. This will not be peace and order, but complete chaos, as President Putin said today. The Third World War may be very close. Since the Ukrainian war began, Russia has initial closer defenses with ties with Tehran and has relied on a steady supply of Iranian Shahed drones and has offered to assist Iran based upon specific requests. Lavrov's comments focus on the big picture, the unraveling of regional stability. And he connects it with the Middle East and Eastern European theaters. The chaos sown by the U.S. in the Middle East and parallels to the same in Ukraine, he explained. The intervention or the intention to use Ukraine against Russia is no longer hidden, says Lavrov. Russia is demonized. Even the world demonized does not quite reflect this aggression. Some kind of beastly one in rhetoric and in actions, he added. This certainly isn't the first time that the Russian diplomat warned that Washington actions are preparing for a potential World War III scenario. And the reason why he has this is because we're a nation run by LARPers. We think we cannot be touched. We think we're undefeatable. And the type of hubris and rhetoric that flows from Washington, D.C. is the most dangerous in human history. No other country has the level of stupid idiots at high levels of positions of power than we do. And not only that, stupid idiots who are in charge of a nuclear arsenal. That's a problem. And we're at the end of the show. So, guys, keep it locked and loaded for us tomorrow. Check out our sponsors, algofactory.tech, algofactory.tech. And with that being said, Cowboy, take it away.